So today I wanted to show you how to make zereshk polo with Tahchin, which is a very popular Persian food. So these are the ingredients I have. I'll just go over them quickly, and you'll see how I make them like in the next few minutes. So here I have chicken breast that I've already cooked with onions, garlic, and some spices, and I'll show you how to make this. I have a cup of barberries, and the barberries, the key thing is that they have to be soaked in water for 10 minutes and then drained, and I've already done that. And what I do is I just keep them in the freezer and just pull it out whenever I need to, so I don't have to go through the process of soaking and draining. So these are the barberries. I have some lime over here, so some saffron, which I'll show you how to make as well. And here I have 3 cups of rice, and this rice is already soaked in water, and I will show you how to make the rice as well. So here I have the ingredients for the tahchin. So for the tahchin, this is like an optional thing that we do for Persian dishes, and this goes well with the barberries and the chicken. So here there's about half a cup of melted butter and oil, 3 eggs, 1 cup of plain yogurt that's stiff, and the optional thing you can do is you can also add a tablespoon of sour cream, which I will do, and that's going to just make it more tasty. And I have some orange zest here, which will just add that scent and the better flavoring for the chicken. So just follow me along and I'll show you the rest of the steps. So I have here 3 cups of basmati rice, and the first thing we do is we just rinse the rice and empty out the water. So basically we're washing the rice, and I'm going to do that 2 times. We're just going to do this carefully with lukewarm water. Empty out the water like this. Giving another rinse. Okay, so lastly, I just covered it with more lukewarm water, and basically I'm going to add in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt. So we're just going to add that in like that, and just give it a little bit of a swirl so the salt gets integrated into the rice. And now we just let it sit aside for about 2 to 3 hours. We have the chicken here inside the bowl of cold water. I'm just going to give this a wash. This is chicken breast fillet, and you just have to be careful when you're washing this because we don't want any water to be splashing anywhere. So I'm just going to give this another rinse, being very careful. So with the Persian rice, there's several dishes that you can make. But today I'm deciding to make the zereshk polo with Tahchin. Okay, so last rinse, and just have to empty out the water. Now I'm just going to transfer the chicken breast to this pot here. And what I do usually with meat is that I boil it for just a few minutes, and then you'll see like some froth forming at the top, and then we want to remove that and drain it. Chicken breast come to a boil and we see that froth, so we're going to get rid of that by draining it. And we don't want to boil it too much, otherwise any nutrients from the chicken breast might be lost. So I'm just going to pour this into this drainer, and just going to give it a rinse. See, I'm just chopping up some onions and also some garlic. So in Persian dishes, like we use a lot of onions and garlic because it just gives such a good taste to our dishes, and also gives a really good taste to meat. So basically, you just want to chop these up in small pieces. And now I'm just going to add in about like 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. I'm using olive oil. Okay, so we're just going to add that in. And I've already preheated the pan. So right now it's at medium high heat, and I'm just gonna add in the onions and we're gonna saute them. Then we're going to add in the chicken breast. Our onions and garlic are golden, so at this stage we're going to add the chicken breast. And I'm also gonna add the spices. So to this I will be adding a pinch of salt, and usually the dishes that I make, I don't make them too salty because salt is not good. So if anyone likes to, they can add in more afterwards. So I'm just going to add a pinch of Himalayan salt, some curry, about half a teaspoon, a pinch of black pepper, and also half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of turmeric powder. So we're going to add those in as well. And then we're just going to stir and cook our chicken breast. This is already smelling so delicious. Okay, our chicken is now ready, and I'm going to show you how to make saffron. So saffron is the key ingredient in most Persian dishes. It gives such a very good scent and color to our food. So I have a little bit of saffron here. As you can see, this is dry saffron, and I'm just going to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of boiled water. So I'm going to slowly add that in. Okay, and then just going to give this a little swirl to make sure it gets the color out. And what I do is I add also an ice cube to it too, and that gives it a shock and basically brings out more of the color of the saffron. And we'll just put this aside. So for making the rice, I filled this pot with water and brought it to a boil. And this is the rice that I had soaked from before, so I'm just going to drain the water and then pour it into the pot. Let's rinse once more. Okay, now pour it carefully in. Place the rest of the rice inside. Okay, and I'm just going to add a bit of salt. To our rice. Put on the lid and allow this to cook and simmer for a few minutes until the rice grains they kind of come up to the top. So it's been about 10 minutes, and as you can see, the rice grains are coming up to the surface, and at this time the rice is ready to be drained. And we don't want to overcook this because for Persian dishes we actually want to see the individual rice grains, believe it or not. So we don't want the rice to be all mushy and mashed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this. So just follow me to the sink. I'm using something like this so that the rice doesn't actually go through. You just have to be very careful because this is very hot. Just very slowly, carefully. And that's it. And now I'm just going to use some cool water to rinse the rice. So at this stage, I'm going to make the tahchin, and here we have the rice that we just drained, and just want to make sure the rice is cool. We don't want it to be hot because in the tahchin we have eggs. So if we added hot rice to the eggs, then the eggs will be cooked, and we don't want that happening. So I have the orange zest here from before, and now I'm just going to add about 1 tablespoon of sour cream to our yogurt, and I'm just going to mix a little bit and add on to here. So the order of the ingredients that you add, it doesn't really matter. I just want to add the yogurt first. So once we have that there, now I'm going to add the eggs. So we have 3 eggs. So 1, just a bit of a whisk. And now I'm gonna add our oil, so our butter and also olive oil that we had from before. So we're gonna add that in. And again, whisk. I have about like a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of Himalayan salt. That's gonna go in as well. And I'm gonna be adding some lime juice. So we can add like the juice of 1 lime. And then after this, I'm gonna add some saffron. Okay, mix that in. Now we have the saffron that I made from before. So we just wanna add about half of the saffron into our ingredients. The other half will just be saved for the top rice. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So the saffron, I'm gonna add in about half of that. That's it. Okay, so now at this stage, we're going to add in our rice. So for the rice, in terms of how much to add, you can add about 1/3 to half of the rice that you have here for the tahchin. So I'm just going to use this, so making sure it has cooled off. Add it in here. I'll just wait a little bit more until the steam kind of goes away. Right, so now I'm going to add in the rice. So our rice has cooled down a bit. I'm going to add that in. And the purpose of tahchin is basically like when we make rice dishes, there's like a thick layer of rice, like it hardens up, and we call that tadik, so it's crunchy and it's very yummy. And some people like to use potatoes instead or bread, but tahchin it's a little bit more, I guess, sophisticated, and people really like it with like, especially with the barberries and the chicken, it goes really well. So I'm just going to continue adding this on, and as you can see, our mixture is thickening up, and that's what we're looking for. So we don't want this to be watery or too loose. Okay, so I'm going to add in, so I'm adding about half of the rice that I have, and the other half will just go on top of it. Tahchin mixture looks like this, and I'm just going to add in some pepper too. There we go. And from before, I have a pot here. Okay, so I put about 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and the heat is on medium to high. So now I'm just going to pour this mixture into here. So again, we're going to do this carefully. It's quite heavy. There we go. And then once all this goes in, I'm just going to flatten it out, and I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so as you can see, I've flattened out the tahchin mixture here. So now I'm going to add in the chicken from before. So we already cooked this, and slowly we're going to place this on top. So it's going to like form like a layer, and it's going to be so tasty, I promise. So that goes all in. I love using the spatula because you can get all the ingredients out. Okay, and now we're going to flatten this out again. So I want to make sure this is all like a nice layer that we're forming. Okay, and then at this point, I'm going to add in the remainder of the rice that we had on top of this. Again, slowly add in the rice, and again, spread it out. Okay, so this is the remaining rice, and I lowered the heat. You want the heat to be between low to medium, and at this stage, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the lid and basically wrap a nice clean towel around it. And what this does is that it absorbs moisture that evaporates from the rice. So we're just going to place it like that. You can even put a rubber band around this so it keeps it nice and tight. And leave this on low to medium heat for like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. You might want to kind of check and have a look to see if it has been cooked. I have 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 tablespoon of oil. You can use olive oil or any other oil that you have. And this is like for the garnish on the rice. And these are the barberries. So I'm just going to pour these in. And we're just going to cook this for about a minute. What we're going to also add to this is about 1 tablespoon of sugar. You can also use jam, or like for example, you can use raspberry jam. I will also add some saffron and some rose water as well. So this has been about a minute. We don't want to overcook this, otherwise it becomes really hard and it loses its taste. So now I'm going to add in the remaining saffron. And I'm going to add the rose water too, but this is optional, you don't have to add it. About like a tablespoon of that. And 1 tablespoon of sugar. Or like I said, you can also use jam, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so now I'm going to turn off the heat. When you remove the lid, you'll see here that our rice has turned golden and it's turning crunchy, so that basically tells us that this is ready. And right now it's been about 40 minutes. So like I said, it's going to take about like 45 minutes up to an hour depending on your stove or if you're using the oven, and then our dish will be ready. It's time to flip our Tahchin rice into this. Just go like that, and you have to really hold on to this tightly, making sure it doesn't go off your control. So it's quite heavy. Oh, there we go. Look at that, wow. This looks so yummy. So remember how we made the barberries? Now this will go on top of our Tahchin. So just feel free to pour this around and just place it on top of it. Just like that. And oh my god, it smells so good. I can't wait to eat this. I hope you guys make this at home, enjoy it with your family, your friends, and let me know how it goes. I'd love to get some feedback. And here's our Tahchin with zereshk polo. نوش جان.